You're here to listen to our talk on Cameras.icu, which basically, when this all happened 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks, yeah.
Mike was asking if I wanted to do just a small short talk for 30 minutes, so I decided to say, hey, Cory, do you want to do a talk with me? I don't know, we'll figure something out cool, because Mike kind of gave us the spiel on the whole singularity thing. And as we wrote the abstract, we're like, hey, cool, we'll do something on cameras and AI, because we wanted to do that for a little while. And after we gave it to Mike, he's like, you know, I can give you an hour. That'd be fine. I'll put you like, I don't know, Friday, probably people be ready to leave. I said, that's perfect. I'm happy with that. You know, and we're going to do the CTF upstairs, which is AI-based as well. So if you want to come by and check that out. And he calls me like, I think 2 days later, and he goes, well, I have something extra special for you, which is I got you a prime spot. And you're the keynote. So that is how we're here today. So I hope you enjoy this presentation on cameras, AI, and you. So this is just a little bit about what we're going to get into, which is just a quick 2-second thing about us, the camera tracking system that we put together, a little bit about the AI, how to do some of the blocking, as well as where to find cameras if you want to play with it yourself, and some code. With that being said, Cory?
So I'm the founding member of Cisco Ninjas.
Hold it close to your mouth.
I'm the founding member of Cisco Ninjas. We were a group of hackers that were interested in Cisco security before it was a thing. Co-founder of DARPANET, Dangerously Advanced Research Project Alliance. We worked on various projects over the years. Dial Tone Ninjas, Dope House Ninjas, and PPCHQ. We were a lot of ninjas. We were all telephone freaks. I come from a long online lineage of degenerate friends. So if anybody here knows any of them, please don't tell my employers. And you, Jonathan?
I'm sorry that I know you, so don't talk to me. Now I know where I stand. I am a Marine, since got out, but co-founder of ThoughtCon, so if you're ever down in Chicago, come check us out. Let's see, we love to make CTFs. That's one of my favorite things, and especially making the community bigger, so getting everybody in here to expand and pull in new bodies. So yeah, I kind of blurred out some of the stuff I didn't want to be involved with, but if you want to check me out, just look me up. I'm at Sakebomb, and that's a bit about me. All right, so I guess we can go into, so how did we get here? Which we kind of just led a little bit into that, but I let you talk about the inspiration, I guess, a little bit, or should I?
Yes, we got playing with AI. We started with, I think it was CakeBot, which became Replica on Android Play Store. Then we got into OpenAI when it had DaVinci Text 2. And then we started moving into, well, what can we do with the visuals? So we looked into Open Computer Vision, OpenCV, and we wanted to see what was capable with it, and we found that we don't need to understand the math behind it to use it. So, yeah.
So with that, we had a little bit of inspiration, and I don't know when this came out. I think it was, last year, September-ish. This guy named Dries put this, just a short video called The Follower that he posted out there. And it was taken down pretty quick, I'd say within a day. And mainly because he just used copyrighted music. And I guess he thought it was something worse, which was using these cameras. But basically he took a couple of pictures of people off their Instagram, mainly like really, really big streamers, or whatever those people are that influence everybody, influencers. Yeah. And he watched a couple of videos, and we're like, I think we could do that. You know, maybe we could kick it up a notch. I don't know, like bam. And so that was kind of where we went. It was that started this whole path of us going down. So basically, we could kick right into a demo with that, because who doesn't like real demos? And don't worry, we're not doing this part live.
Don't worry, we are doing a part live. It's going to fail.
So demo gods be with us. So one of the first cameras that we found was, we found one Abbey Road because we're like, where do people take a whole ton of photos and post them and that also have pretty good like facial concepts? And then we realized that faces don't really work when it's too far away, but
Lighting also matters.
yes, lighting does. But we realized that we can take a step back and also recognize clothing. So we started working on adding additional like green coats or hats or this yellow suit guy who just happened to look great walking across Abbey Road. So you can kind of see him here on the left. That's the actual posted photo, which I don't know why when you see the next video of this, why he posted this one, because there were so many better ones. He like chose the worst photo. Oh, but this is him, just in case anybody's interested. And I figured because all the stuff's public anyway, I think we're okay. But hey, if anybody wants to follow him and say, hey, we got you because you have some cool Instagram photos, you can watch him cross the street. And I love it because all we had to do was just throw this video through our feed, and we're just watching this guy. And I didn't know it was going to be, I don't want to say it was easy by any means finding any of this stuff, but it was really, really fun when we're like, alert, alert, alert. Just here, yeah, talk about how you started.
So we're matching on yellow. There's yellow signs, there's yellow lights, there's yellow vehicles. There's people that like to wear yellow rain jackets on rainy days. And we matched on hundreds of them. So to actually find this guy based on that Instagram photo took quite a bit of work. One of the interesting things about this guy, though, was he crossed the street, what do we count, 12, 14 times?
Oh, tons, like 20 times.
And yeah.
Everybody
Every
in
time
Abbey
he
Road.
ran back to the cell phone to see his picture real close, and he's comparing it. And it's quite fun to watch.
And so that was the photo moment that he took. So we now know who even took that picture, just so you know, which I thought was actually the fun one. That was something we kind of wanted to bake in here, which was, hey, we saw your picture and we know who took it, which would be pretty bad. So after yellow suit guy comes,
We have yellow hat guy. And yellow hat guy I had a really clear image of, so I tried facial recognition. He's facing the wrong way. So we again had to use the yellow coloring to find him. And there was another guy in the video that had a rain jacket on that spent about 40 minutes crossing the road with cars beeping at him every time that he stopped for a photo. But this guy was much more polite about it. He was pointed away from us, though, so it was a little bit more difficult for us to identify him.
I think probably one of my favorite things about just watching these videos, because we needed to make sure everything was working properly, and I'm sure that if anybody watches surveillance videos just in general, how ridiculous human watching is. Like, it's amazing. Like, the amount of things that people do. Like, people crossed Abbey Road probably on average at least 8 times. Now, keep in mind, there's a lot of people that cross this road. There were some that would cross like 20 times, trying to get that perfect photo. You know, this is just like stranger watching. I know that we had like COVID going on and whatnot, but hey, I like to watch people online just as much as the next guy. So as we were watching through this, it was just kind of a cool thing just to say, hey, we did this. What else can we keep going on?
Mm-hmm.
So, but with Abbey Road, obviously, we realized, hey, we just wanted to show you a little bit about like who these people are, what they're doing, because they're all social media people. And oh yeah, was this?
I don't remember this one.
I don't even know what video this is if I just added it.
Surprise video.
Oh, was this the hat guy again?
Yeah, this was the hat guy
Oh,
actually
zoomed in.
walking up. That was just an image before.
You can see the exact moment he got the photo and who took it.
So one of the hard parts about identifying this is yellow is one of those colors where any temperature of light changes it. So we were identifying all kinds of wrong yellows throughout doing this Abbey Road project.
I love those people. Like,
Yeah.
all right. So Obviously, you did a lot of yellow, probably Abbey Road. I'm not a Beatles fan per se, but hey, Yellow Submarine just popped out. I'm sorry, could you imagine if you lived off of this road and all you did every day is wait for like 20 minutes for people just to take a silly photo and cross? I would lose my mind.
And nonstop beeping, nonstop.
It was all day, from 8 till every time. So we did a couple cameras in New York. They weren't as easy because their pictures were grainy, but we decided, hey, you know what?
We don't have enough content. We better come up with more.
So we thought it would be kind of fun if we would use the surveillance, I guess, against those that surveil us. So why not snoop on them like they snoop onto us? So we said, let's take these Milwaukee cameras, because a lot of people from here are from around this area, right? So we can have a couple of live feeds and just let it go for a few hours. So when we got here, we turned it on, recorded for several hours, and we basically said, let's look for some cops, because why not? Because everybody loves a good video. And there you go.
So pay attention to this. See how that cop car is showing up as the building? What's interesting is when I was doing the AI model for this, I just took a bunch of cop car images to train it. We had like 20.
Yeah, we'll show you.
Yeah. But the reflection of the cop car off of the building at the angle that it was at, it picked that up. And I didn't have that as an image, and that wasn't a full picture of the vehicle. So that's pretty impressive what the model was able to do without understanding the math.
I wish we had that other video, because we had a really close-up one from the amount of traffic cameras you guys have in this town. It's pretty cool. We have the video. If you guys want to see it later up at our booth, we have all the videos that we captured. Just editing takes forever. Yeah. So I am sorry that we don't have that in here. But what is it? For every minute of footage, it's like 10 minutes to edit. It basically is true. Yeah. VLC is not as easy as people make it.
Yep, so here are our cop cars. We have about 20 in this folder. We're only showing about 12. And when we take the cop car, we use TensorFlow, which allows us to take a single image, distort it, grayscale it, stretch it, skew it, so that we can turn one photo into many for training a model. Models are going to work a lot better with more imagery. So that's one way that we were able to take a limited number of photos and train a pretty accurate model.
So we already taught it to know what a cop car looks like, but if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, sounds like a duck, it should be a duck. But what if you throw in a different kind of bird? How do you know it's not going to be register as a duck?
So you have to train it on not cop cars. And one of the problems we ran into here was with the colors of the cars. They come in so many different shades. So again, we used the TensorFlow to change the colors of the vehicles so that we could hit a bigger spectrum of not cop cars while training the model. So be able to distinguish between the two, and using object recognition, identify that a truck isn't a cop car, but an SUV might be.
And so mind you, this is on a very limited subset of data. As you build these models, which is what you're looking at when you're talking about any of the GPT models or Llama or what have you, these are, hundreds of gigabytes worth of data? And not even images, for that matter.
It's well more.
Oh, that was compressed.
That was even compressed, yeah. So I was surprised with the results we were able to get with just some training on my little laptop last night within that short period of time. When you think about things like Google's CAPTCHA service, where they're capturing lights and vehicles and people walking and so forth. Sorry. When you're capturing where people are walking, dogs, cars, how well their models must look compared to the nonsense I was able to pull together last night, and how accurate it must be. It has to be absolutely incredible whatever Google's going to do with that. That model will be worth millions upon millions of dollars.
Yes.
And you all helped train it, so did I.
So thank you for your service of CAPTCHA collection. So as I was saying before, we didn't train this on a lot of data. So that kind of goes and shows you a lot about how advanced some of the programming is, the software is for, I guess you can call it OpenCV software, so, but AI more or less. Yeah. Now imagine if you had multiple years of collections on faces or other public and social media things, and I guess we could talk about that in a minute, but we'll keep going. So we'll talk about the AI itself. So I'll leave that to you, Cory.
Sure. Can you flip over? So OpenCV is an open platform, and it does a lot more than just creating a model and inferring knowledge from it. It's able to take multiple image formats as well as video formats and just process them. I don't have to use other modules to deal with protocols like RTSP I learned, as well as MP4, WKV, JPEGs, TIFF. It just accepts them all. And it puts them into a matrix using something like NumPy, which allows them to evaluate different sections of a photo at a time. It's based on a technology by a guy called Alfred Haar. It's called Wavelet, if I remember correctly. And it uses cascading rectangles, not triangles like I'd been saying earlier.
So you're saying that we're all just polygons?
Yes, just polygons. So after it takes the image in and processes it into the format, it can do facial recognition. The facial recognition that we're going to show you in a bit is all based off of single image, and it's real accurate, which is creepy. I was able to take my LinkedIn photo from 6-7 years ago, and in my dark room of my house when I was working on the software, it was picking up my face. And I put on a little weights in the sun.
Damn it, COVID.
It also offers object detection. So we did cars as an example. But in a prison, it could pick up sign language. Or it could pick up a baseball versus a soccer ball, or anything else that you want to feed it and train it on, which is kind of cool. So feature detection and description. It could tell us whether the face was there, but it can also tell us whether it was wearing a hat and potentially what color that hat was. And think about this. This is an application that's now able to see through just some images and some video, which is pretty interesting. It offers image stitching. You may be familiar with that. That's where you take multiple photos and you stitch them together into one panoramic image. And you can do all this with just a few lines of code. Optical character recognition. This would be like your CAPTCHA systems that you use to try and prevent bots. Well, this bot allows you to see it. Augmented reality. You're going to see that in one of our examples. That's where we put a rectangle around somebody, but it could really be anything. It could be a circle. We can put text on the screen, and we can have it during a live video feed so that we can see what it's detecting, not just that it's detecting. The cop car example, I believe, puts cop car at the top of it. Motion detection. I needed to use this for the cop car example. There was such a large image, large canvas that we were working with. We had to delete the parts of the video that weren't in motion, so we weren't detecting across all of it. Because working off my little laptop, the CPU wasn't able to keep up with it.
Yeah. It was pretty fun watching it chug though, because we really wanted to bring in like an actual like GPU unit. Mm-hmm. We were like, you know what? Let's just show how it works on a regular laptop. Because imagine if you had a lot more funding, what more you possibly could do.
And the machine learning we've already touched on. This is where we're taking multiple images of what it is and what it's not and creating a model off of it, which sounds difficult, but OpenCV makes it really easy for us.
Mm-hmm. Now, with all of that too, when we're taking the video, it basically would try to recognize as many things as it can within the image. So just because you can say, hey, this might be a cop car or this is a car, well, you can also say, this is a face. this is what the face looks like, and it will just register it as an unknown. So we set that to a UUID so that we can have all the different variances. So that even if there is a face that it doesn't know or something it doesn't recognize, we were saving those images so that we can go back through them and then apply a label to that. So, for example, I have a goatee now, thanks to my
Genetics.
son. Yeah. But my genetics. I know I can't grow a full beard. I'm sorry, but it's what you got. Live with it. So the photos that I trained it on were just mine without a goatee. But it still picked up and recognized my face, but then it also was able to train it on all of the polygons of my face to say, hey, I recognize the eyes, your forehead, my weird-looking cheeks, and it goes, got you. It picked up me. But imagine if you added somebody else, such as like when you had your wife pop in there at first, it just said unknown face, and there it was. Now, once we had that, we just start populating the data, and now you have a whole ton more things. So,
With that unknown face, what we were able to do is have it take a shot of that face and assign it a UUID 4, so that even though it didn't know who she was, as she walked around the room, it would still recognize that she was still that person that it didn't know versus somebody else in the room. And they're able to do this on the government systems as well, just as easily.
yes, and I wish my Google Home would recognize that, because it sucks. It adds like new faces all the time. It might be so-and-so.
Yeah.
Are you home? Familiar face. Anyway, so go into TensorFlow.
Sure, so TensorFlow has neural networks, and I believe that this is just the model's if statements, if I remember correctly. It does image recognition, just like we do with the OpenCV. It does natural language processing. This is where it can do sentiment analysis. Was this a happy statement or a sad statement? It'll do the reinforcement learning. So this is where we've already created a model. We know these are cop cars and these are not cop cars, but now I have more cop cars images that I want to add to that model. It'll allow us to do that without training the old data set. And as you start training larger and larger models, this can take a lot of time, so you want to have that ability. So we also have DLib, which is what I use for facial recognition. While it's possible to use OpenCV, DLib has a much better algorithm for it and a much easier module to use called facial_recognition. It was able to do a facial recognition off of a single image as opposed to feeding it several images of a person. It has object tracking, which allows you to see an object in motion and where it's moving to. Landmark detection, which would again be like that object recognition. The machine learning algorithms are very similar to what we see in OpenCV, where it uses HOG. We have image processing. Just like with OpenCV, it's able to identify multiple image types, converting them into a matrix to allow it to evaluate them.
So with all of these things that we mentioned, the OpenCV, TensorFlow, and DLib, we don't really have a grasp of how difficult it is for anybody to play with, but we always suggest that you check it out because it might not be nearly as bad. I mean, we picked it up because we wanted to play with it, and we just read through this and hammered it out until like 2 a.m. each night for basically 2 weeks. But it's kind of a lot of fun when you start playing with it because obviously AI is only getting better. Well, machine learning, if you really want to go that way, but I'm just going to call it AI, even though I hate that term also, because you know what? Hey, I still say please and thank you to my Google Home, just in case the robot uprising happens, but whatever. But I know that some of this sounds like it's boring to go through all this, but basically, these are some like big things that can really help you out, especially in your daily work, because hey, AI is coming whether you like it or not.
Yep.
Going to the performance, and this is big. You talk
Yeah.
performance.
So this is the difference between a CPU and a GPU. The laptop that I have here has an Intel GPU in it, which isn't available to be used with CUDA. CUDA only works with NVIDIA. However, if I had a CUDA card in here, which I thought it did when I came, it would have allowed me to go 5 to 8 times as fast with the processing of the video feed as I can do with the CPU. The example here is a poor one, though. This is from the OpenCV website? Is that where we got it?
Yes, that was from the OpenCV website, just to show what was at the Tesla card or something?
Yeah, it was the Tesla card that's like $8,000. But you could still get that 5 to 7 times X off of an NVIDIA consumer grade card that would just come in a laptop.
Yeah, either way, just GPU is going to be your best bet. So use GPU no matter what you're going to do when it comes to imagery.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with some of that, I know we've talked a bit about how, a little bit about the code, a little bit how bad some of like the videos are and things like that. Well, we wanted to go a little bit more into like who's doing this or what else is out there. So, I mean, are you afraid? We already know that camera surveillance has been going on for years. I mean, we know that the United States has tons and tons of cameras everywhere. What, New York, I think, as of today is, 19,000 cameras, like basically one on every block. You could pull up these videos. A lot of them are live. I mean, there are police cameras that you can't necessarily tap into, but finding the cameras isn't too bad. But still, who else is looking at them? If you ever go on and watch YouTube and you see these live video feeds, you'll always see there's always at least one person watching most of these live feeds, except for like bird cameras and stuff. But if there's any videos that there's going to have like faces in it, you'll see that number at like absolutely above 1. I've seen it pretty much on average of like 15. Now, obviously there's billions of people around the world, but you also don't know it's a person watching. It could be that it's somebody like us just downloading the feed and recording it. I mean, and nothing you really could do about it. It's just a live feed. Or the sheer fact that there's numerous cameras out there that people populate that are sitting on the corners that like your home. I mean, there's the amount of people that put these in their houses and just don't realize it, that actually auto-configure your home router to allow access to these cameras. Just be mindful that it exists. I mean, Hikvision does that. A bunch of them do that.
Do how?
Yeah. So what else can we do about it? So, here, this was a kind of a fun little video.
What I do is I go over to my class and I just want people. So I eliminate all the cardinals. So now I just have the people that go through the scene in a 24-hour span of time. And I'm actually watching that in 9 minutes and 44 seconds. So I figure out now the next thing I want to do is where do these people go the most? So I use the pass.
The pass.
And right then and there, I have my drug deals in seconds because there's the frequency meter right there, and I can see the pass. So these two houses were in concert, and we did search warrants on these later. But I also want to know, just for my own edification, how many people just go to that little door, like right there, every day? How many people go into that intersection? And at this time, because I went a little higher, it's 400 because they cross underneath here too. So you can see every one of these people walking, and all these people are going, and the car gets are going right to that. Look at that. Does that look like a regular house deal, or does that look like a drug market? It's a drug market. How long did that take me to do? That took me a minute.
What would you have done otherwise?
Sat outside, the old school way. I used to go out at 4 in the morning with a sleeping bag of granola bar and a set of binoculars, sit on a rooftop and call in drug deals. That eliminates that whole problem.
So cameras and facial recognition and all this stuff can just follow movements and show you a lot more stuff. I know it's great. And this video, I think, is, what, a year or so old?
Yeah.
But in this case, it's used for good. So obviously, everybody loves to talk about privacy, how bad things can possibly be. But hey, I mean, when it comes to like massive houses and where bad things can be happening, this is what it is being used for. But also, let's see how far technology is going to keep going within the next couple years. It's going to be pretty crazy. Okay. But on that note, this is where a lot of the cameras are. So if you ever if you want to log into either of these sites, and we'll have all the slides available so you can click the links, you can still see like where a ton of cameras are that are mainly used for just mass surveillance in general. So it is a bit wishy-washy, and everybody has their own opinion of it, which is totally fair. But if you are interested, this is where you can go and learn a bit more about just who's using it, what they're using it for, and even how it goes about doing it. You want to say something?
Sure. The banned facial recognition is kind of unique in that it shows what states have banned their police from using these cameras, which is helpful to know. Wisconsin, we checked beforehand. I don't believe their police can. They have the body
Yeah.
cam, but they're not allowed to use the webcam technology.
Right.
Yeah.
So with that, we have a couple of methods of being able to block the cameras, even though that cameras still exist. So some of the fun ones is, well, hey, on the right, you've got your little, they're glasses that will shine a light on your face, because that's one thing that Cory mentioned, which is any additional like contrast that you're going to add or brightness will totally mess up how the camera is going to recognize your face, because it might not recognize your face at all. I mean, what was it, a couple weeks ago, there was some AI recognition that a bunch of URA Marines were able to bypass. They had to basically show how a camera was tracking individual troop movements, and then their next goal was to, how do you get past it? So a couple of them crawled on the ground, some of them walked like this because machines couldn't pick that up, and some others used boxes, and that just defeated it completely. So basically, the video just dropped. But basically, anything you could do that will greatly affect the contrast or the brightness, that will affect it. The other alternative is you just overflow it with data, like you see in the one on the left, which is, hey, let's just throw in a bunch of things that the camera's not really expecting, such as license plates, or maybe just a shirt with a ton of different faces that you really wanted to do, and they could be big. And we have surprises for you later for that, but you have to come visit us. That was kind of a little thing, but.
Ready for the next one?
Yeah, go for it.
It's the same thing.
These are self-projects. These are just what individual people have, not for sale.
Correct.
That's why this exists.
Yep. I've also seen some of my penetration testing friends using laser lights against cameras to knock them out when they have to get past them. And it's not able to detect there's somebody walking by it when they do that, which is kind of interesting.
But that's if you know where the camera is.
That's true.
So it's not necessarily easy. I mean, there's tons and tons of cameras out there, but it for what it's worth, mostly works. When we were testing this earlier, even just having a hat on kind of works, but that's also indoors only, not necessarily outdoors. So we added a light, and that solved the problem for us.
We will be sharing all the code from this with you, so you'll be able to play the same games you've seen us play and a few more that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to do that, here's where you can get some cameras.
So one fun thing is, so EarthCam is a site that basically collects tons and tons of cameras from like major spots, and surprisingly, like businesses put them in there. So you can go, hey, this is a restaurant I've been to, and you're like, yeah, I was sitting right there. So you now know you're on camera, and you might not have known that restaurant had that. So EarthCam likes to be very popular that way. So like you go down to Duval Street. I actually had my wife walk down the street just to wave at the camera. I forgot to add that. So I had her pop up on there, and she wasn't too happy that I was going to put her in, so I took her out. But either way, there's a lot of those cameras that are on here. And additionally, we have InsecCam. So this is just insecure cameras that somebody was basically Google dorking the entire internet with and collecting cameras to add to this repository. Now, I'm going to say the accuracy of where they're necessarily located is not really accurate, because their data is based upon a geo IP provider that's not really accurate, but bad plug, very bad plug.
Bad.
But anyway, we have some better ways to collect a geo IP, which is outside this conversation. But with that, these are the cameras that are insecure, that people might not even know that are public. So you can access these and say, hey, let's set them up and play around with them. Did you want to say anything to InsecCam?
No, I had nothing to
Yeah, I think they only have like 10,000 cameras, but I know there's way more out there.
You'll find other collections
Yeah.
if you go around GitHub.
These are primarily like HTTP cameras, not like a real-time streaming protocol. And there's a whole slew of different types of protocols out there, but those are going to be our big ones. So, yep. Oh, should I talk about, I forgot. So if you can't actually capture a live feed because you're like, damn, I missed something for like 5 minutes. Well, YouTube has this fun little feature if you can use like YouTube Downloader to go back up to 120 hours in the past and just download days worth of data. So fun fact, if you ever want to play with that and you just have the bandwidth but you don't have the time, set that up and you can just download tons and tons of data. It'll save it as MP4 in nice sized blocks, and you're good and you're off to the races.
What was it, 5 gigabits for about 4 hours of content when we were playing with it last
No,
time?
not even. It was
Not
like,
even.
what was it, 2 gigs for 5 hours.
So yeah, it's quite possible, even on hotel Wi-Fi, if you're looking for something to do.
Yeah, and that's really high quality. That's like 1080p, which is perfect for what we're doing.
So we're going to have the code released on Cameras.icu in a little bit. We had to finish up some code. We ran into a problem with our GoPro setting up RTMP and RTSP because I'm a bit foolish at times.
So with that, we're not necessarily done yet.
Correct.
But when we found the .icu domain, which apparently was for intensive care units, but hey, whatever. We're hackers, we abuse things anyway. So I said, why not buy Goetzman.icu? Because we wanted to see if we can also ourselves just break our own models. So we decided to print out Mike's face. So he's not in here right now. So when you come and see me, I'll have these faces for you to wear around. And if you want to see how it works with the AI, we have it set up, and we'll have it set up by the CTF room. But you can watch it, and Mike will probably love to see you. So.
Unfortunately, a lot of our front row friends have left us.
Everybody
They all got a little
ditched us.
nervous not knowing what we were going to do to them.
It's really sad. But, okay. Do you want to do the live video quick?
Yeah, well, I got them. Will you pull up the website? It's localhost 5000.
It's, what's it? Localhost 5000?
Yeah. Saying we didn't break anything while we were talking.
I didn't. If it broke, it's your fault.
I blame you.
Oh, there we go. So mind you, it's a little slow. Do you want to just go down to
Yeah, I should probably
the
go
front?
closer.
So if you don't want to be in this video, don't worry. We're not recording a thing on purpose because we know how, whatever. There's cameras everywhere. Mike just said somebody got kicked out of the conference. So for what it's worth, either way, we just wanted to show you a quick video. Yeah. But we wanted just to show you that this is how fast it would be running on not only a CPU, but by scraping LinkedIn for just public profiles, these are just those videos. And we had the whole front row, by the way, of all these trained cameras. So there you go. Those are just people that we had.
And you'll see that Mr.
Did
Minion
it populate?
here.
Oh, you're not in the front row. It mistook you. There it goes. It's putting Cory.
With Mr. Minion, we used an example of a photo with him when he had a goatee, if I remember right.
Oh, he had a
So
picture.
sometimes it'll recognize him and sometimes it won't based on the characteristics of the regions of interest on his face, right?
It was based upon the regions on his face to collect them. But the fun part is we were just logging all this data, because that's how we actually were able to comb through a lot of our old videos, was just tell us when you see it and we'll go back and re-verify the data, because that's a time saver. That's all I see AI as, is a time saver, not 100% accurate, but let's see if it recognizes me. It's really slow. It's like a good 5-second delay.
Yeah, there we
And there you go. Okay,
Awesome.
So you see it works. Oh, look. I wanted to do the happy face. I was trying to pick the shirt for today because you never know when you're standing in front of people what's going to stand out. So let's see. With that, any questions? Love to answer any, and stump us if you got them. Please.
So when you were looking at Yellow Hat Guy, there's a Toyota with a really clear license plate tag. Did you ever think about taking and correlating license plate tags from the photos and then tracking the car to more quickly find where people are? And then in addition to that, reverse timing that so that you can find out where cars and where people are coming from.
So you asked if we looked at, in the Yellow Hat Guy's video, because there was clear license plates on the cars, if we were going to actually track any of the cars to see timestamps when things happen, because we could do that through cars. I'm going to tell you absolutely, I know the technology exists for that. We couldn't fit that in with our stuff, but that was one topic that I wanted to, specifically with this, because when we wanted to find exact moments, because there's thousands of like Instagram photos, TikTok. We even found like TikTok videos of people doing it so that we were trying to correlate them. It's just so much data, but we wanted to absolutely include that because those are all additional factors in the whole big pie, which is, it's not just about looking for a specific person, it's looking for a lot of key elements. And that's intelligence as a whole, which is, I'm looking at person wearing a green coat, because what if they took off their jacket? Now you're not recognizing them. But you recognize the person next to them, and they've been with them the whole time. You now have a dual-sourced methodology, license plates included, so you can track and use any cameras and do that. I know what's happening right now, but there's actually some fun technology that even shows if there's people following you. So, won't go into that one, but I do know it exists. So yes, definitely was something we considered. Any other questions? Oh, this is good. Oh, there's a question over there. Didn't you watch the presentation? So he asked if there's anything we could do to protect ourselves. And there's always bypasses. Well, it's a chicken egg problem, or there's always one way to one-up everything. I mean, this is literally our jobs as hackers in general, which is we build something, somebody breaks it, modifies it, does whatever it can just to keep bypassing it. So one thing with OpenCV that happened was originally we had, like, it would just look for recognition of your face, but then what happens if somebody grows their hair out long or starts covering their face, has, where did the slide go for the,
Sorry?
There's the slide that doesn't work. Oh, this.
Yeah.
This was something that I forgot, we skipped over because the video was messed up. So things that don't work is CV Dazzle, and we've proved this. If you've not heard of CV Dazzle, this was something a few years ago that was supposed to block a lot of facial recognition. Well, that was a bypass. And then the cameras got better, and so that's when they started looking at like the polygons to say, hey, this is what their eyes look like, this is their hair color. There's all these additional factors. So the CV Dazzle images you can see on the bottom are methods. I mean, I'm not going to go in public looking like that personally, but hey, if you do, cool. It kind of came out from like Taiwan during like, or not Taiwan, sorry, the Hong Kong protests for some of this, but whatever, it is what it is. But now that stuff doesn't work. Like, cameras can definitely break through that. I mean, if you're a human and you could recognize who these people look like, the cameras can pull that stuff out. I mean, look at, what was it, the magic eraser that Google has, that can just clean stuff up. It just knows how to say, okay, this is this color. I know the curvature of your face. So what can you do? Well, just block everything. That's the best thing you could possibly do, is cover up the things. I mean, a lot of people wear masks now still, but unfortunately you can't go into some places now with masks because there's a lot of crime. But that's really the best way that you're going to defeat any of this activity, or learn how to walk differently, which is actually one of the most easy ways to figure out who somebody is by identification, or earlobes, like all of these different things, like cat and mouse or chicken and egg. You have to just be you have to be aware of it, but you also have to at some point, and I hate to say this, be a little bit comfortable, because you're somewhere, if you're going anywhere, you're going to be on camera. Whether it's a CCTV, a closed circuit TV, or just a miscellaneous camera that's out. I mean, just driving in general.
Relationships are possible too. I don't believe we mentioned that.
No.
If I see somebody going by a camera 3 or 4 times with somebody else next to them, I can start to associate and use random forest to say they're probably friends. So be mindful of that if you're ever doing anything shady with a friend.
Yes. I'll be your friend.
You are my friend.
Any other questions? With that, thank you very much for attending our keynote, and I hope you enjoyed it. If not, please give us feedback. If you liked it, give us feedback, because then we'll try to make it better. And if you want to play with stuff, come on up by the CTF room, and we'll show you some of the stuff and walk through it with you.
Thank you all so much.